What happens when a global fashion icon sits down for what should be a friendly morning chat, only to find herself defending her entire career, her marriage, and her authenticity? The tension in Studio 1A was palpable from the moment Victoria Beckham settled into the interview chair across from Jenna Hager and her co-hosts. What started as light-hearted banter quickly spiraled into one of the most uncomfortable moments in morning television history, culminating in a walk-off that has everyone talking. Before we dive into exactly what was said that pushed Victoria to her breaking point, make sure you subscribe and drop a comment below telling us what you think really happened here. The interview began innocently enough. Jenna opened with her trademark warmth, welcoming Victoria to the show and congratulating her on the recent success of her fashion line. Victoria, poised as always, thanked her and smiled politely. But there was something in the air, a subtle shift that viewers at home might not have initially picked up on. Jenna's co-host, who had been relatively quiet during the opening pleasantries, leaned forward with a question that would set the tone for everything that followed. Victoria, I have to ask, and I think a lot of people wonder this. When you talk about being a working mother and building this empire, how much of that is really you? And how much of it is the team behind you? Because let's be honest, you have access to resources most women don't. The studio went quiet for a beat. Victoria's smile tightened almost imperceptibly, but she maintained her composure. Well, of course, I have a team. Every successful business has a team. But the creative vision, the direction, the late nights perfecting every detail, that's me. I've been doing this for over a decade, building it from the ground up. Jenna jumped in, perhaps sensing the tension. Trying to redirect. Absolutely, and we can see that dedication in every piece. Your attention to detail is incredible. But the co-host wasn't finished. Sure, but you also have a very famous name. I mean, would Victoria Beckham the brand exist without Victoria Beckham, the Spice Girl, the wife of David Beckham? That's a fair question, isn't it? Victoria's jaw tightened. I think it's interesting that we're still having this conversation. Yes, I was in the Spice Girls. Yes, I'm married to David. But I've spent years, actual years, proving myself in an industry that wasn't exactly waiting with open arms for a pop star to join their ranks. I've shown collection after collection. I've earned respect from people who matter in fashion, right? But fashion insiders have also been pretty critical. Haven't they? The co-host pressed. I mean, there have been reviews that question whether the clothes are actually innovative or just well marketed. Jenna interjected again, her voice higher, more nervous. I think what we're trying to understand is the journey, Victoria. You've had such an incredible transformation. Victoria turned to face Jenna directly, her voice measured but firm. Transformation. That's an interesting word. As if I was something that needed to be fixed. I evolved. I grew. I pursued a passion that I've had since I was young. Why is it so difficult to accept that I can be multifaceted, that I can have been a performer and now be a designer? The third co-host, who had been silent until now, chimed in with a laugh that felt forced. No one's saying you can't be both. Victoria, I think we're just curious about the reality versus the image. You've cultivated this very serious, very posh persona, but we remember Posh Spice. She was fun. She smiled. She was playful. What happened to her? Victoria's eyes flashed. She grew up. She built a business. She became a mother to 4 children. Should I apologize for being professional, for taking my work seriously? Not at all, Jenna said quickly. But you have to admit there's this perception that you're, well, a bit cold, a bit unapproachable. Even your own husband has joked about you never smiling. My husband makes jokes because we have that relationship. Victoria's voice dropped, calm but unmistakably firm. What happens between David and me is private, she said, and using that as proof that I'm somehow cold is deeply insulting. The co-host who had started the line of questioning leaned back, unfazed, her expression almost smug. But that's exactly what confuses people, she replied. You want privacy in your marriage, yet you post about your family. You want to be taken seriously as a designer, yet you use your celebrity to your advantage. Which is it, Victoria? You can't have it both ways. The studio fell completely silent. Victoria paused, drawing a steady breath, clearly fighting to keep her composure. I choose what I share, she said evenly. My family matters to me, and yes, I share moments of my life because they're real to me. That does not mean my marriage is open for public dissection. And as for leveraging my celebrity, isn't that exactly what this show does? You invite celebrities to attract viewers. Should I pretend I wasn't famous before? Should I erase my past to make others more comfortable? Jenna rushed in, attempting to soften the tension, praising Victoria's ability to balance it all and steering the conversation toward the new collection. But it was too late. The co-host wasn't finished. Before we move on, she said, viewers deserve honesty. Reports have surfaced about financial struggles, about losses year after year. How do you respond to people who say your brand is just a vanity project funded by your husband's football money? Victoria went completely still. When she spoke again, her voice was ice cold. How dare you, she said. How dare you reduce years of my work to a vanity project? Do you know how many hours I've put into this? How many times I've been told I wasn't good enough, serious enough, credible enough, and I kept going. Yes, my company has faced challenges. Do you know how many fashion brands struggle? It's one of the hardest industries in the world. But I'm still here, still building, still creating. But funded by David, the co-host repeated flatly. Victoria's response was sharp. My business arrangements are none of your concern. David and I are partners. We support each other. And if the idea of a successful couple working together bothers you, then maybe that says more about you than it does about me. Another co-host jumped in, attempting to play peacemaker, but only adding fuel to the fire. What people really question, she said, is authenticity. They feel like they don't know the real youth, that everything is curated, controlled. Victoria let out a short, bitter laugh. Everyone wants authenticity until you give it to them, she said, and then they tear you apart for it. I'm being authentic right now, telling you exactly how I feel, and you're treating that like a problem. Jenna hesitated, insisting it was just a conversation. Victoria shook her head. No, she said. This is an interrogation disguised as one. You invited me here to talk about my work, my collection, and instead you've questioned my legitimacy, my marriage, my personality. Tell me, would you ask a male designer these questions? Would you ask Tom Ford if his success is really his own? Would you ask Ralph Lauren if he smiles enough? When the co-host pushed back, claiming these were things people genuinely wondered about, Victoria fired back instantly. What people? Or is it just you? Because this feels personal now. Jenna shifted uncomfortably, trying to calm the moment, but Victoria wasn't finished. You want honesty? Honestly, I've done hundreds of interviews. I've answered hard questions with grace. But this feels different. It feels like you decided who I was before I walked in. And nothing I say will change that. The most aggressive co-host folded her arms, accusing Victoria of sounding rehearsed. Maybe, Victoria replied, her voice rising just slightly. I've learned to protect myself. Do you know what it's like to have everything you do dissected? Every decision questioned. Every smile analyzed. I've been called a bad mother, a bad wife, a bad designer by people who don't know me and have never seen the work I actually do. Jenna reached out instinctively, as if to stop what was unfolding, but by then, the moment had already slipped beyond control. We're not calling you any of those things, one co-host insisted. Victoria turned toward, her eyes sharp. You questioned whether I even design my own clothes. You brought up my husband's money as if I'm playing dress-up with his credit card. You said I don't smile enough, that I'm cold, that I'm not authentic. How is that not calling me exactly those things? Another co-host jumped in defensively, claiming they were only reflecting the public conversation. And by repeating it on national television, Victoria shot back, you're legitimizing it. There's a difference between asking challenging questions and piling on. The original co-host leaned forward again, her tone hardening. Fine, let's talk about piling on. You speak publicly about women supporting women, about feminism and equality, yet your clothes are priced beyond the reach of most women. How do you reconcile that? Victoria closed her eyes for a moment, steadying herself. My brand operates in the luxury fashion market, she said evenly. That's the segment I designed for. Supporting women and running a business in a specific market are not mutually exclusive. But the push continued. Don't you see the disconnect? Real women shop at places like Target, not Victoria Beckham. Real women shop everywhere, Victoria replied firmly. Real women exist at every price point. Some save for investment pieces, some buy luxury. Deciding who counts as a real woman based on her shopping habits is deeply condescending. Jenna attempted to redirect the conversation, asking about inspiration for the season, but the interruption came too late. Another co-host pressed on, questioning how anyone could relate to a woman whose life included private jets, multiple homes, and famous friends. Victoria held her gaze. I never asked anyone to relate to my lifestyle, she said. I asked them to respect my work. There are plenty of designers who live extravagant lives. Why is that only a problem when it's me? The answer came with a smirk. Because you came from a girl group. You weren't born into this world, you married into it. The studio froze. Victoria's face drained of color before flushing with anger. I married for love, she said tightly. I married my best friend. His success does not diminish what I've built. When the co-host pressed that it must have opened doors, Victoria didn't deny it. Of course it did. But I still had to walk through them. Access is not the same as success. Plenty of people have famous spouses and never build anything lasting. I did asterisk. Then came the final provocation claims that David had bailed out her business. That without his money, it would have collapsed years ago. Victoria stood abruptly before forcing herself back into her chair, visibly restraining her fury. My financial arrangements with my husband are private. We are married. We share our lives, our resources, and our goals. If we invest in each other's ventures, that is our business. Literally, Jenna's voice softened, almost pleading. Suggesting people were simply curious about image versus reality. Curious, Victoria repeated, incredulous. Because from where I'm sitting, this feels like an attack. You've questioned my talent, my work ethic, my marriage, my authenticity, my business ability, and my connection to other women. What exactly have I done to deserve this? The most aggressive co-host leaned back, unmoved. You chose to live in the public eye. You don't get to decide when the attention stops. Victoria leaned forward, her voice slow and deliberate. I came here to talk about my collection. I came here to talk about design, about fashion, about work I am genuinely proud of. Asterisk, instead of discussing her work, Victoria said. The conversation had turned into a therapy session where she was being asked to justify her very existence. Jenna gently insisted that no one was asking her to do that, but Victoria's voice wavered as she pushed back. That was exactly how it felt to have to prove she deserved to be there. Deserved to do the work, deserved to call herself a designer. For more than a decade, she had built this career, shown at Fashion Week, dressed some of the most influential women in the world, earned awards and the respect of her peers. Yet none of it seemed to matter, because she would always be reduced to posh spice who got lucky. Asterisk, when a co-host denied that implication. Victoria answered that it didn't need to be said outright. It had been embedded in every question. The unspoken message was clear. She wasn't legitimate. She was playing dress-up, and without her husband's money and her famous name, she would be nothing. When challenged about why she was being so defensive, Victoria's restraint finally cracked. She said she was defensive because she was human. Because she had sacrificed time with her family, pushed herself to exhaustion, and still sat there being told it wasn't enough, that she wasn't enough. Asterisk. Another co-host dismissed her reaction as oversensitivity, calling the questions normal. Victoria rejected that outright, drawing a hard line between tough journalism and cruelty. That line, she said, had been crossed long ago. Jenna looked genuinely shaken and apologized, but Victoria quietly reminded her that intention didn't erase impact. The message had been delivered loud and clear. She was being framed as a fraud, her success as manufactured, her personality as cold and unworthy of respect, asterisk when accused of putting words in their mouths. Victoria demanded to know the real point of the interrogation. The response that it was an honest conversation about her image and the disconnect people experienced only inflamed her further. She challenged the constant use of people as a shield, calling it out as personal bias disguised as journalistic integrity. Every question, she said, was loaded with judgment, every follow-up designed to trap her. This wasn't journalism, it was a hit piece. Asterisk Jenna tried to reset the conversation, urging everyone to take a breath, but Victoria was incredulous. How do you reset after being told your life's work is meaningless? After having your marriage dissected live on television? After being labeled unauthentic, unrelatable, and not good enough? When another co-host accused her of being dramatic, Victoria stared back in disbelief. She named the double-standard women. Face-silent women are cold. Outspoken women are dramatic, and there is no way to win. Asterisk, then came the muttered remark that changed everything. The victim card. The studio gasped. Victoria froze, her expression unreadable, before asking in a dangerously calm voice for the comment to be repeated. When the co-host doubled down, accusing her of playing the victim despite her privilege, Victoria responded with quiet force. Privilege, she said, does not excuse cruelty. It does not make unfair treatment acceptable. Having resources does not mean surrendering your right to dignity. Asterisk Jenna pleaded for the conversation to return to the collection, but Victoria locked eyes with the co-host who had made the remark. She said what she had clearly been holding back, that this felt like resentment, like an attempt to use the platform to cut her down rather than understand her. The denial that followed rang hollow, and Victoria calmly explained why. The phrasing, the expressions, the dismissive tone, this had never been about curiosity or understanding. It had been about making her look small. Asterisk, when professionalism was invoked, Victoria scoffed. Professionals don't ambush their guests. They don't ask questions designed to humiliate. They show basic respect, and that respect had been absent from the moment she sat down. The accusation that she built her brand on superiority stunned her. She rejected it outright, refusing to shrink herself to soothe other people's insecurities. When pressed to be more relatable, her voice finally broke. She said she was showing humanity right now, woman being told in a dozen ways that she wasn't good enough. How much more vulnerability did they want? Jenna, now in tears, apologized again. Victoria softened briefly, acknowledging the intent, but made it clear she could not continue pretending this was acceptable. When challenged about leaving, she stood slowly, unfastening her microphone. She wasn't running away, she said. She was walking away. There was a difference. Walking away was what you did when you knew your worth. As pleas followed her. Victoria calmly stated there was nothing proper about a conversation built on disrespect. She believed Jenna's apology, but intentions did not undo harm. Sometimes, she said, the kindest thing you can do is remove yourself from a toxic situation. She welcomed the controversy, insisting people should see what happens when a woman refuses to be bullied even on national television. Warnings about her reputation didn't move her. She had survived worse. What she wouldn't survive, she said, was staying and accepting this treatment. With that, she picked up her bag and walked toward the exit, the sound of her heels echoing through a stunned, silent studio. When Jenna called after her one last time, Victoria turned back, composed and resolute. She urged the hosts to reflect on what had happened, on whether this was the kind of interview they wanted to be known for. This wasn't journalism. It wasn't entertainment. It was simply mean. She walked off the set, leaving behind stunned hosts and a silent audience. Within minutes, the clip spread everywhere, praised by some as an act of self-respect, criticized by others as oversensitivity. But one thing was undeniable. By refusing to participate in her own diminishment, Victoria Beckham made a statement louder than any answer she could have given.